Welcome to Go For Your Life. Thank you so much for tuning in and giving me your listening ears. Woohoo! This is a podcast for everyone, about everything, and it's to encourage, inspire, uplift you to go for your life. And it is presented and hosted by myself, Caro, and my sweet dog, Sparky. Give it up for him. I hope you're ready. Enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of Go For Your Life. And today is really special because we're all the way to India. My goodness, with Mahima, we're going to talk about some really important subjects. And Mahima is from Terres, Hommes, a very important organization. And I'm really grateful that you're here with me. Welcome.
Hi, Caro. Thank you so
Hi.
much for having me over.
Yeah.
Hi, it's great to be here. Yeah, thank you, Caro.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. So just to introduce, I spoke to you about this already. I really enjoyed our email conversations back and forth. But for my training, for my yoga teacher training, we had to read this book, Nine Lives, and we also had to write an essay about any of the chapters that we thought was really was resonating with us. And I chose to write about Devadasis and kind of the faith that they live in India. And I never heard of this before, and I was really touched by it and heartbroken, to be honest. So I really wanted to reach out, and by doing my research, I came across your organization, and I thought it'd be really good to talk about it. So instead of me explaining what it means and what's happening, I thought it would be good to ask you to do that, and we can open the conversation and talk to people about this very important subject, I think.
Yes. Thanks, Caro, for the introduction. So yes, to know a little bit more about Devadasi system, or who Devadasis are. So let's start with understanding the term, right? So Deva means God and Dasi means servant. So in a sense, Devadasi means someone who's a servant of God. Okay, so that itself is a very, very general term. But in the context of specific states in India, which is mainly Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, this term has been, used for children to get into a system of sexual exploitation. Okay, so this is it is extremely saddening, and very, very upsetting to know. But children as young as 12, 13, they are this is girl children, that is, they are dedicated to a life of sex work, and in the name of tradition. So it is told to them that this is what your life is going to be. This is who you are going to be for the rest of your life, and this is your role, and this is what you're ordained to do, right? So this set of this particular section of the community, they are called Devadasis. Like, they are women who have been dedicated to a life of sex work. And this is, I mean, there is definitely poverty is one of the reasons why they are vulnerable. But more than that, it's their socio-cultural status. So the root of this issue lies in the cultural bias and the context that they live in. So generations of women in the same family follow this practice. So in one family, you'll see the grandmother, great grandmother, the mother, as well as the daughter, all of them engaging in the same profession. And many a times they look at it as that they are born for this. And that is something that is very it's very sad to hear. And we have worked a lot with this specific community to see how we can firstly take that essential psyche out of their minds, saying that no, this is not what it is all about. This is not what the tradition or the culture is actually leading you towards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been uh, it's been misused by those with vested interests, right?
Mm.
So we tell them that as well, and we also, empower them. I mean, we'll get to that a little later in the conversation, but this is essentially who Devdasis are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is it like, is this something that's been going on? Like, when did this started? Like years and years and years ago, or is this really?
Yes, yeah, it started way back in history. So it goes like this. Devadasis originally, they were dedicated to God because they were very talented in music and dance.
Hmm.
Um, there were girls who displayed a lot of talent in music and dance, and they were specifically dedicated to God in the sense that they are meant for worship. So they would dance in front of God, they would sing in temples, dance. So that's who they were, and they were very, very respected and revered. That is way back in time.
Yeah.
Uh, with what has happened in certain pockets. So I will not say that the story of the Devadasi community in general or globally or is that of oppression and discrimination. No, it's not. What
Mm-hmm.
Devadasi actually is how it was intended to be was a worship. It's a form of worship,
Mm-hmm.
right? That
Yeah.
was what it was intended to be. And in at a certain point, there was exploitation that seeped into a certain groups of Devdasi communities. So
Mm-hmm.
these groups are those from we call it Dalit. Dalit in India is another term for socioeconomically backward classes. So or socioeconomically disadvantaged groups. So these communities are uh, Dalit communities who where the exploitation actually seeped in, where the Devdasi system became a religious sanction for prostitution. So
Mm-hmm.
this has happened in only certain communities, and this is where we work in 5 districts of North Karnataka, where this system is extremely prevalent, and we work with uh, the disadvantaged groups. So, but Devdasis in general across the globe, you will find a lot of women, maybe even children, men, women, who hail from Devdasi families, but they have managed to, not find the exploitation that currently exists in certain other pockets as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Devdasi in general, when they say servant of God, it's a form of worship
Yeah.
through art, music. That's what, and specifically for God, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But in certain communities, it is. I mean, it's very sad, but it's become something else altogether.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because it really sounds like even when you say like the worship, and it's so extremely nearly the opposite of what it actually is now, then like that you're being, because it's like for me, being a Westerner, I guess it really feels also like it's just a form of abuse. I mean, these very young, like some of them are still children when they have to become sex workers, really. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
you know
I mean, yes, that's the thing, right? We when we as TDH as Terres, we call ourselves TDH NL, like for short. So
hmm
as TDH NL, we don't we are very, very sensitive as well to people's religious beliefs and their culture and their tradition. I mean, that's extremely to be respected.
yeah.
But what we are against is there are certain people in society who have misused this for their benefit,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
vested interests, and also there is an element of poverty as well in these particular communities.
Yeah.
So it's again it's a lot of cross-cutting issues which actually has brought about this system
hmm
in particular these particular pockets that I just spoke about. So yeah, that is what it is, and I mean, as such, culture and tradition is not a bad thing,
No, no, no,
but
no,
when
no, absolutely not.
yeah, but when when it is viewed in the wrong lens or the wrong perspective, I think that's when people get affected. And this is an
Yeah,
example of that. Yeah.
totally. And I think it must also be very, because what I remember from the book is, so we follow this story of Rani Bai, and she is working as a Devadasi, and I think she says something about, if I were to sit under a tree and tell you the sadness we have to suffer, the leaves of that tree would fall like tears. Like it's so. I mean, what I find when you follow her story, she just can't get out of it. Like she tries to have another life or find another life. And I think that must also be really difficult. Do you think that's the case? Like when you are a Devadasi, how do you stop being that, or how do you get out of that? I mean,
It is
what is there
extremely difficult.
what is their, I don't know, chance for a life?
So it is, from what we have, understood, and from what we have heard, their stories, from what we know of them and their experiences. The first thing is it's extremely difficult
Mhm.
because this is in general for for the flesh trade, right? So once you're in it, I
Yeah.
think it's very hard to get out of it. So it
Mhm.
has become your entire system gets used to that, and although it becomes very toxic,
Mhm.
because although you know this is not what you want, you know that this is not healthy, this is affecting you emotionally, it's affecting you socially, but it's still, it's you're caught in a trap, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the trap, the 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 reason for the trap is again poverty, in or it's again the deep rooted socio-cultural false belief, right? So
Mhm.
it is a trap, I think, that mostly what they go through. And like the essay that you shared, it is very, a lot of it, um, I could resonate with, in terms of what the girls have actually told us.
Mhm.
And it is very difficult, it's a challenge
Yeah.
to, it's sad because they want a way out, they all want a way out.
Yeah.
Even when I asked the mothers, right, I said, if you had the opportunity, would you like your daughters to do something else, or would you have liked to do something else rather, right? Because
Yeah.
right now in most cases, in the areas we work in, the dedications have completely stopped, or the incidence of the system is very, very less now.
Yeah.
So the stories we hear from are from their mothers or from the women, and they say, of course not, I mean, who would choose a life like this,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So this is pure exploitation, and the communities that we work in have been forced into it.
Yeah.
So it is definitely very sad. Yeah.
Because is it also, do the family, like, does the family, for example, decide that their children become Devadasis and they also get the money? Like, is it also like a sort of income for the family?
In some cases, it depends actually. In most cases, in one story, for instance, the lady was engaging in sex work, and
Hmm.
she used to give her income to her brother,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and uh, and sometimes she would keep some for herself to help her daughter out. And then sadly she contracted AIDS,
Yeah.
and she had to move back to so she had moved to Bombay, this lady,
Hmm.
and she moved back to her hometown. And then after that, her brother said no, she can't live here because she has AIDS. And then the daughter who was living with the brother, I mean, with her uncle, was asked to leave, and the mother and the daughter had to live separately. And the income stopped. The brother also didn't help the mother, so the girl had to drop out of school and start working. And we worked with this particular family. So
Hmm.
we provided her with education. We ensured she enrolled in school. We gave her vocational training.
Hmm.
So that's essentially, what we do. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
come to that. Uh, the stories are like this,
Yeah.
Karo. They are in a trap, and they are used. So the family members also know that, you know, this is what they are,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they are. I mean, they are bringing income, but at the same time, there's no respect.
Yeah.
So
And is
That's
we're mentioning
yeah.
AIDS, and I think in the story, or I think I remember from the story that
Yes,
she also gets AIDS. AIDS is it a big problem amongst Devadasis as well? Then, like,
yes,
do a lot of them get ill?
it is. Yeah, they do. Yes,
Mm,
they do.
yeah. And
Mm.
would you know any sort of percentage, or do you know how many how big is the problem of AIDS for them?
The percentage, I will have to get back to you on that
Mhm.
because definitely at least from the cases that we have worked, at least they're about 20 to 30% of
Yeah.
women that we come across. Yeah, but this is only in terms of our focus area, but on a
Yeah.
larger scale. As per a report in 2018 by the Karnataka State Women's University,
Mhm.
the total of 80,000 Devdasis in North Karnataka alone.
Yeah.
So that was a number that that particular report cited.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That's a huge.
yeah, that's an interesting, I think, study as well that we could, pursue in terms of identifying the number of uh, Devadasis who have contracted AIDS so that we can again support them. But I would say in a rough estimate, maybe around 20 to 30% of the ladies we come across. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's another question I had, because I just did a fundraiser here, a yoga fundraiser for another organization called Tribe of Lambs, and they actually have an organization to really support children who have HIV, or some have AIDS, because also to sort of there's the stigma of them not getting any medical attention or any help because they have AIDS. Is that something that is the same for Devadasis? Like, do they get any medical help, or do people not? Is that
So in general, when it comes to helping the Devdasi communities, the society doesn't extend that much support. Like the government definitely has instituted the Devdasi Prohibition Act in 1982, which prohibits dedication.
yeah.
Laws are in place, like the government, the law enforcement agencies has put laws in place, and in fact, there are a lot of schemes as well, government schemes for specifically for Devdasi women.
Mm.
But at the end of it, how much of it actually reaches the women?
Hmm.
That is the question. And that's where we are trying to support, right? We are trying to help them access relief schemes, trying to, see that the laws or assist the law enforcement agencies in implementing um, uh, strict modus operandi to address any issues or any crime arising out of this particular problem. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because do you feel from from your perspective, or from your point of view, people that live or that are in India living with AIDS, do they really do they get discriminated? Do they become the victim of a stigma that?
Yes. Yes. Things are slowly changing.
Mhm.
Um, Slowly, very slowly, but that is still a very, very much it's a fear when someone you meet someone uh, with AIDS or someone who is HIV positive. It is definitely they need a lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of warmth and kindness, and but there is still a stigma surrounding it,
Mm.
and it is very challenging for those infected.
Mm. So sad. And what I saw also, that you have like an education program for the children of Devadasis, because I think that's another problem as well, right? I mean, a lot of the Devadasis also fall pregnant and have children, and I mean, where do they go?
Uh,
Like, do they automatically become Devadasis themselves, or like how does that work for
yeah, let me tell you what really happens. So to get into schools in India, especially in government schools, in rural pockets or the semi-urban pockets we work in,
Mhm.
the form needs to have both the father's name as well as the mother's name, and in some cases only the father's name.
Mhm.
Okay, so that is like a requirement to enter for you to get admitted.
Mhm.
Now, because a lot of children from the community we work in, the Devadasi community, they don't have, um, this particular identity, right? So either they don't join schools out of the shame and the embarrassment, uh, or else they enter another person's name, like their relatives or their great grandfather or their grandfather or their maternal uncle, so that they can enter school. Also, this school will have children, not only children of from the community, it will also have children from other communities as well. So in many cases, they don't reveal that they are children of Devadasis, right? Because it is again looked down upon. They are very worried that someone will find out. But what happens is people do find out. I mean, they'll find out that, oh, this is not your father, the name you enter. Then who's your father, and where is your father? So that really affects them a lot. And this is, I have seen personally, on every girl child, or every even boy child. Even they get very, very affected, the male children. That the fact that their father's identity is unknown to them is a really, really heart-wrenching fact. That is the main reason why many of them, they hesitate to step out of home. They hesitate to join school and mingle with children, because they are made fun of, they are ridiculed, they are laughed at, and that kind of pain is just too difficult for them to process and handle. Yeah. So that is the biggest challenge we face in terms of education, because the first thing, again, it's like I said, of course, poverty is a reason, but more than that, it's the stigma, it's the socio-cultural
really sounds like that as well. That the
that
shame.
that is what is that is the biggest challenge that we face. And that is something that we see echo across all the children, that particular sentiment. I have when I have gone on the field, every child says that, and they tear up. They tear up for that, mostly when they speak of maybe their experiences of what, or the pressures that they are going through. They are able to speak, but when they speak of the father, that's when they really tear up. I mean, that's very, very sad to see. So this is one of the biggest challenges that we have encountered. And to address this, we institute, along with the education support, there's also something called life skills training. Okay. So life skills training is, again, a total of 16 life skills, some of which are confidence building, resilience, communication skills, leadership training. So these skills are taught to them. We divide. So how we have identified children is that through baseline studies, as well as door-to-door house visits, as well as observational data. So we have identified children who are both vulnerable to the Devadasi system, or who have been exploited. So both vulnerable, and as well as those who are currently in the system, or who have been in the system, right? So, but again, it's difficult to fully know always, because all this happens in secret. Right? It's very right. We don't know, even if one of our staff is managing a children's club, it is still very challenging to know which of them is actually a victim sometimes. But the children's club staff has an idea. They do have an idea. They know, because it's a kind of a community setup, right? So in fact, our staff come from Devadasi communities themselves. So, they are from Devadasi communities themselves. Yeah.
So for you, when did you find out about, like, were you a certain age that you knew about the existence of Devadasis, or how did it?
I did not know. I knew of it when I was studying. When I was doing my social sciences in school, as well as later on in college. I studied communications for development. So the topic briefly came up, but I didn't know that much about it. Only when I started working at Terres Homes did I really understand and know the reality of the problem, because
Okay.
books only tell you so much, but when you actually see uh, the issue, then you know a lot more, right?
Mhm.
So that's when I would say I knew of the system mainly only when I started working in at TDH, and this was in starting from October 2019. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So actually, just growing up in India, you weren't either confronted with it or you just had no idea either of
No.
the existence of that.
Yes, I knew that prior to working on this project, and I knew that Devadasis are performing artists. I mean,
Mhm.
that was what I knew, to be very honest.
Yeah.
But the fact that there is exploitation in the system in certain communities alone, certain disadvantaged communities, is what I got to know after joining Terres.
Mhm.
Yes, I think that's where we, that's our work, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we reach out
Yeah.
extremely vulnerable communities, and in our work targets areas which are very, very specific. I mean, we want to focus on specific issues and address those specific issues through our efforts,
Yeah.
and that's what
Mhm.
we stand for. Yeah.
And before asking a bit more about Terres Hommes, because I'd love to ask some more, but at first I want to ask you personally, like, because how is it for you personally to, like, I think the two questions I have here, like, how do you feel about Devadasis as a, on its own, but also like, how do you, I mean, how it must be so hard also, like, do you take it home with you, or do you have sort of methods for yourself that you can deal with this, or like how is it for you to work with these communities, because it must be very difficult.
Yes, it is on a personal level, it does hurt a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it is an opportunity for me to get to know them, right? So I like, as a person, I'm someone who likes to talk to people a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a very I wouldn't call myself an extrovert, but I love speaking to people, especially if it's like on a one-on-one basis.
Mm-hmm.
I love it because generally people like to share or confide things to me. Like it's just, it happens that way. Like especially when I talk to people and children especially. So personally, it's been a journey where I have also learned from them as well, as
Yeah.
to how they are coping with their issues, and how they are with whatever support we are giving them, how they're empowering themselves. So that is the positive side of it,
Mm-hmm.
that really to really get to the skin of what they're going through.
Yeah.
And that way, that has really, really helped me a lot, talking to them, getting to know them, making them feel free. That has really you know
Mm-hmm.
personally helped me, because I my role in the organization is program documentation, as well as communications, as well, and fundraising. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't directly involve myself in any uh, project related activity or impact related, nothing. It's just documentation.
Yeah.
So and a lot of times in at work, it's about talking to them and asking them to share their stories,
Yeah.
speak of their life journey and how things have changed for them and what more they require. So it's more or less a lot of interpersonal communication that happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I have understood the community.
Yeah.
So that way, personally, yes, it is again, on one side it is very, very sad, um but on the other side, it's also uh it opens your window to another world, right? A
Mm.
world maybe, see, I didn't know about this earlier, but when I speak to people about it, they realize, okay, there is something like this, right? People,
Yeah.
often we tend to live in our own bubbles,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
our own,
Exactly. Yeah.
our
Yeah.
own world. But then you realize that there's a lot more, right? A lot
Mm-hmm.
more things. There's a lot of injustice. There's a lot of the world is very skewed actually. So
Yeah.
and it's an eye opener for people as well
Yeah.
and for me as well. So yeah, that's been a personal experience.
No, I can totally relate to that. That makes a lot of sense. Because how long have you worked now for Terres Hommes?
It's 3 years now.
3 years now. And
3 years, yeah.
what does Terres Hommes specifically do when we talk about this subject? Like, what is it? I mean, you mentioned a few things already, but like it'd be great to see what you guys are actually, or what the organization is doing.
Sure, right. So Terres Hommes Netherlands, in India, we address we address the issues that children face in the Devadasi system through a project called Children Good. Okay, good expands as getting out of the Devadasi system. So getting out of the Devadasi system, that's Children Good. This project is called Children Good, and it started in 2019. And it's been on uh, till today. It's still continuing the project. I mean, the first phase was completed early this year. The second phase started uh, early this year as well. So we work in a total of 5 districts in North Karnataka. Okay, that is Belagavi, Vijayapura, Koppal, Bellary, as well as another district. So the total of 5 districts, and each of these districts we work in a total of 80 villages presently. Yeah, so around that's the reach of the project. And what we do, and in even what we essentially do is we focus on a multitude of interventions, right? Starting from education to life skills training to uh, you know even vocational training, because we want to ensure that they come out of their uh, you know the the burden of having to work because there's no financial support, so they have to get into sex work. So we want to train them in jobs where, so it gives them an alternate uh, livelihood, right? So instance, we train them in tailoring or tailoring, fashion designing, automobile driving, like auto driving, car driving, and beautician training, and computer skills. We have an office manager's course as well. So yeah, that is essentially a few things about what we do. So, and we also child participation is another key approach uh, through which we tackle this particular issue. So we group children into children's clubs, where we first of all we identify them, like I told you.
Yeah.
And each village has a club. So and sometimes one village has 2 clubs as well, depending on the population of the village. So each village has 2 clubs, and 2 to 1 club, and there are around 20-15 children in each of these clubs. And we in these clubs we coach them on life skills. The life skills training is a huge component of our work, where we teach them how to build confidence, how to uh, you know speak well, how to develop resilience. I think that's an important skill. Like how do we? So there are actually it's a program that has been designed, and we impart that specific learning to them. So this is extremely crucial, because it is only after this are they willing to make a difference in their own lives. So we as Terres, we look at ourselves as facilitators. That is because we believe children by themselves, um, they have voices, and our role is just to amplify that, right?
Yes.
Our role is just to provide just a support.
Yeah.
Because for us, we are only supporters, right? We don't look at ourselves as the ones who are, helping, or it's not that. We want to empower the children.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
we because then if it's the other way around, then there is an issue of dependence, and there's an issue of superiority. There's an issue
Yeah.
that comes into play, right? So here it's just, we are just facilitators, and we empower them in every way we can, so that they can achieve their dreams and work to the best of their potential. Yeah.
Because
So that is
Terres Homes is in general an organization that fights against children exploitation, right? In general.
yes. So that is essentially what we do. And in education, we enroll children in schools in the sense that we provide support in terms of school material, study material, books, bicycles, and all other paraphernalia that children need to get into school. And we also help them in guidebooks for their exams, and that's another education support that we do. Yeah.
And are you guys government funded, or do you also do you get a lot of donations from supporters?
So it depends for different projects. So each project is funded differently. This particular project is funded by sort of institutional funding from different other foundations based in the Netherlands.
Okay. Because can people help? So anybody listening, like, can you?
Definitely, yes. Yes. We so in India we have an affiliate organization called Children of India Foundation, and in India that's the governance is such. So specifically because that that really helps us work with the government well. So we have fundraisers for this project on platforms like Give India. At the end of the talk, I can share the link with you as well.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I'll make sure that we'll put everything in the show notes for people. I think it'd be very important to. You're doing such great work, and I think it's like it's just such an important cause to also support. Like definitely, I think it's definitely needed. Like these. That's why I was wondering, like, because some organizations really only get their money from external sort of other organizations, or some people only rely on donations from people. So I was just wondering how that is for you guys.
Yeah. So I can also share with you, I think after this talk, I'll share with you the reports of Children Good over the years, and take a look as well for further details. If at all you're interested in knowing a little more, like statistics. So 81 villages is the total number of villages in 5 districts.
Yeah.
So we reached out to currently around 4,014 children. Yeah.
And is that?
And in the second phase, we are also including boys as well into our program implementation.
Yeah.
Because boys are equally vulnerable.
Yeah, that was another question I have. Like, are we only speaking about girls and women, or are boys affected as well? But they are then.
Yes, actually, so far as of the first phase, we focused only on girl children. But it's our learning as well, that even boys are equally affected, and it has being from that community is also been tough for them, and that has also affected them a lot, because if you see, that is a tendency for boys to get into crime or drug addiction, because boys deal with, I mean, this is not meant to be gender discriminatory, but in general, right? There may be many exceptions, but from what we have seen in general, boys deal with pressures differently than girls, right? At least from the context of rural and semi-rural, semi-urban India.
Yeah.
So they deal with pressure differently. And from what we have seen, when boys undergo, for them it's really traumatic to know, to know that their either father's identity is unknown. Girls face it. Girls deal with it differently. Boys do, and for them it affects them a lot. So many of the times they are more consumed with anger and hurt and and this and the peer pressure. So many of them get into drug addiction, to crime. So that's why they're also extremely vulnerable. And as an organization, our duty is to protect children. So which is why we decided we need to include boys into the project as well.
Yeah, of course, because it's all children, of course, that need the protection.
So we have an addition of 500 boys since 2022, March to April. So there's another 500 boys for the first time into the project. Yes.
And when you, like, I guess this is your personal view more than or that of Terres, but like your personal view, do you have hope for the future? Like, how do you see this? Do you see this change in the next few years, or what is your personal view on this subject, on this issue?
So my view will firstly depend on the experience that I have seen. What I have seen, the biggest impact of this project, of course, there are numbers which say that children have been enrolled in school. We have these many number of children who have undergone vocational training. Like, for instance, I can tell you the numbers. We have 3,000 in the last financial year alone. 3,000 girl children are continuing their school, and around 270 plus girl children are undergoing vocational training. And apart from that, also we have a lot of community sensitization activities as well, where because again, working only with children limits, although that's extremely essential, but it limits the scope of our intervention, because the environment around them also needs to change, right? So we also sensitize community members, and especially temple priests, because very often these ceremonies happen in temples by temple priests. Because unless there's a temple priest, a girl cannot get dedicated. So and in this community, religion plays a major role in influencing people, right? When I say religion, it's songs, it's prayers, it's hymns. So we sensitize temple priests through those ways, and they have they have gone and spread awareness as well in these communities, saying that this is not acceptable and this is not so. And we've also worked with paralegal volunteers, and even with the media, where we have held a lot of media consultations with local media mostly. Because again, we want the local authorities to take an action. So that's why mostly we work with local media. It is local Kannada is the local language, so Kannada newspapers, where a lot of articles come out on our interventions. And we speak of what the problem is, and we tell journalists, and we tell them also that how it's important to be sensitive while reporting. So things like the child's identity, if at all they want to write about the Devadasi system, what things to keep in mind, how to, because many a times, even if you go on the field, they are offended by the term Devadasi. So this is a conversation that we are having for the sake of understanding the issue and the context. But again, a word is a word to us, but to them it's been an experience, like it's been a traumatic life experience.
Absolutely.
For us it's a term that that makes us draw attention to a specific issue. But for them, it's a term which has brought them a lot of shame, a lot of worry, a lot of trouble, a lot of oppression. So they avoid using that term there. So they don't like being identified
Mhm.
as. But some of them are open to talk about it. Some are not.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
of them still feel, because they are made fun of, right? They're ridiculed, and
Mm,
it's a very emotionally challenging journey.
of course. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. So, like, coming back to what I was saying, yeah. So we also work with the government, where we hold a lot of government meetings, where primarily for advocacy purposes, and we even through the children's club, we teach children how to fight for their rights themselves. So many
Mm,
a time, especially, we teach them advocacy. We teach them how to speak up
yeah.
for their rights, because in many cases, children of Devdasis and Devdasis in general are denied a lot of rights. Like, for instance, the right to property is
Yeah.
something that many families, that they are not given, but they are entitled to it. So they go and fight for it
Yeah.
in local panchayats or local district level
Yeah.
meetings with law enforcement agencies, and we train them to the life skills training program. We
Yeah.
train them we teach them how to speak. Yeah. So that is another. So working with the children as well as working with the stakeholders.
Yeah.
That is the strategy that we adopt.
Yeah.
And yeah, coming back to what personally I feel about the project, and based on my experience, the biggest, the most successful impact is that the girls who were very, very shy. I won't say the word being shy is okay, but the girls were very confined,
Yeah.
who did not want to speak, or who were scared, who were ashamed. They are now so confident, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
are speaking up, they are bold, and they want to bring about change. They want their lives to change.
Amazing.
They
Amazing.
they they believe that they can do it. They
Yeah.
are no more, they are not playing the victim card. They
Hmm.
are not.
Yeah.
I think that is one of our biggest successes, that
That's a
they are
massive
not playing the
achievement, right?
victim card.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are
Very
not
good.
playing the victim card anymore. They are
Mhm.
playing the empowered child card,
Yeah,
right? They are
exactly. That's empowerment,
yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. They are they are a lot happier. They
Yeah.
are able to speak up. They are bold. They know their rights, and they have goals now. Like, they want
Yeah.
to. A girl I spoke to recently wants to become a police officer, and she said,
Ah!
yeah, one of the
Yeah.
girls, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, because she said that if I be a police officer, then only then can I stop the Devdasi system.
Yeah. I just
Only
wanted to
then can I
say arrest
stop.
all of them. Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
she said that. Yeah, I have it recorded on video as well. Like, she said that she's like, if uh yeah, because her story again, she was being forced into uh getting dedicated as a Devdasi.
Yeah.
Her
Yeah.
parents are no more, and she stays with her grandmother.
Hmm.
And her grandmother was getting really old, and she said, no, pushing her, you have to, you have to. Her entire family, forcing her to get dedicated. But then, you know, she somehow found a way to withstand all this through our help, and we taught.
Wow.
She said after the life skill session, she was so firm. She said, I'm not, I'm not gonna do what
Amazing.
you want. I'm not. I mean, she was really buckling under pressure, but she said,
Yeah.
no, I'm just not gonna do it, and I want to study. I mean,
Yeah.
she managed to. Our support. I mean, of course, the pressure is still there,
Yeah.
but but she's very strongly telling. She's not crying and saying, "This is my life. This is what I'm going to be." No, she's very, very confident. She says, "No, I want to be a police officer, because only from a police officer can I actually bring about some
Yeah.
change."
That's just so amazing. And being able to, to use her pain and suffering, and just like now it's a drive for her, like she just, completely, that's amazing. What an amazing story. And I truly hope, I can't wait
Yeah,
to,
I think,
to see her as a
I
police
think
officer.
we did a the organization TDH, we did a fundraiser on this particular story as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
so amazing. I think it's also incredible what you're saying or what you're doing with the education, because I think that education is such a big part, because you really go to the root of the problem, right? Like you're educating the people that really need to know about
Yeah, that is
image.
sensitizing, right? The right word would be sensitizing, and the community members. So we do street plays also. So we
Ah,
because
wow.
in general the Devdasi community is they're very fond of art, performing art, dance.
Mhm.
So we have street plays where they speak in the local language. They speak of their particular problem, of
Mhm.
what is happening. Ultimately, with the message being like, don't dedicate your child, or
Yeah,
or even in general, treat the Devdasi women with respect.
yeah,
So
yeah,
street plays, ways of community sensitization,
yeah,
all of that really has brought about some change in community attitudes.
yeah.
Yeah, so that way now the children we work with, in fact, during COVID, they are the ones who spread awareness in terms of wearing a mask and maintaining social distancing. Yeah, we
Amazing.
as part of the children's club, coaching, we gave them pamphlets, materials, and they walk from door to door spreading awareness, and they also solve their own village problems. We have taught them advocacy and reporting, and we have many books on this as well. Like one such story is that in a certain village there was open defecation which was being practiced. So there was no toilet and people were defecating in the open,
Oh, wow.
and so the girls decided to do something about it, because after see, when you undergo a training program like through life skills, you realize that you have the power to make a change. So
Yeah.
they wrote, we had put up notice boards in every village for children to write down any complaints that they have or addressed, and the girls noted down this issue and they on the notice board. And we
Hmm.
also taught, as part of the life skills and training, we have something called training children as change agents,
Oh, yeah.
where we
Yeah.
child-led, a lot of child-led activities like child-led research, through photo documentation, video documentation. So they
Hmm.
took photographs of the issue, they took testimonials of the villagers saying that this is the problem, and then they went and spoke to the authorities as well on this particular issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it took about a year for the toilet construction to start, and but the entire process took about a full year for it
Yeah.
to actually start, and now the toilets are constructed.
Wow.
So
Very
change
good.
also takes time. It didn't happen overnight.
No,
They had
that's,
to,
yeah.
the
I,
authorities first didn't give them much attention. They said,
yeah.
then they kept going back and back. They never gave up,
Yeah, just
and the community
persistent.
is so happy. It's like, yeah, good children, like, our
Yeah,
good children, they are solving village problems. Like that's what we wanted. We want the mindset to change, coming
absolutely.
from
Yeah.
Devadasi being viewed as, an exploited,
Yeah.
outcast,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
ostracized community, to
that's
including them
stigma. Yeah.
in decision making, including them uh,
Yeah,
you know, in public resource ownership. I think
absolutely. Amazing.
that I would say personally is what I'm extremely happy about. That it is
Yeah.
stop they've stopped playing the victim card and they're now empowered. So
Yeah. Yeah. No,
yeah,
absolutely. And is there a reason why it's like, because you were mentioning Ter Home, the Netherlands is like, is kind of what you're working for in India, is because I think Ter Home's a global organization, like it's all over the world.
yes, Terres Hommes. So Terres Hommes Terres Hommes International Federation is a European federation.
Yeah.
Um, that there are different Terres Hommes country organizations. So there's
Yeah.
Terres Hommes, there's Terres Hommes Germany.
Yeah.
So we uh, I represent Terres Netherlands.
Yeah.
And that by itself is a global organization. So Terres Netherlands works in Asia as well as East Africa.
Okay, yeah.
Primarily, as well as certain countries in Europe, but primarily we have two regions, Asia and East Africa. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because that was my question as well, or something that I was wondering, like, what's the connection then between Terres Hommes Netherlands and India? But as you were saying, they are also a global organization and they do different projects all over the world then.
All over the world. And in Asia, we work in Philippines, Cambodia, Bangladesh, Nepal, India.
Wow. You must have a lot of work to do all the time, Mahima. It sounds like. Busy life.
Yeah, as well as Thailand. We also work in Thailand. I mean, it is challenging, but it's also something that I love to do.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's very important to have a work-life balance for everyone.
Yeah.
So, but work is something that I do enjoy. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's really, you do such important work, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today about all this. And I think that it's really important. So important. I think it's also about what you're doing, spreading awareness, creating awareness, and just getting the word out there, and getting people to understand the issue, what the issue really is. And I hope that some of the listeners will find you, and I'll put everything that you were mentioning in the show notes for people to check out the website, donate to any of the causes. I think it's really, really important. And that's all I wanted to do today as well, is really, spreading awareness, but also hopefully people will be able to donate something to your organization, because it's so important.
Yes, that would be extremely helpful. And apart from being helpful, of course, it's also that you get to be a part of the change, right? You get to contribute to the solution, and
that's it. That's a beautiful thing. Contribute to the solution.
Yeah, and that by itself, for a donor or for anybody who wants to reach out, that by itself is, I think, strikes a chord.
Yeah. Well, and come to the Netherlands one day, maybe. I'll cook you an Ayurvedic dinner.
I would love
to meet you in real life.
Yeah. And you please get in touch with me. I will send you my number by email.
Absolutely. Definitely.
I'll probably anyway, planning to come to the UK sometime soon. So
that's good.
My trip keeps getting my plans keep getting postponed to go to the UK. But I live in London. London.
Well, so I'm in London at the moment, but I live in Amsterdam actually. Like, I live in the Netherlands, so that's why I was saying, if you ever come to the Netherlands. But I'm a bit all over the place. So and as you know, soon I'll be more up your way, going to India for a few weeks. So I'm always everywhere. But
you should please reach out to me when you're in India.
Yeah, I will for sure.
And mostly in the north of the country, right?
Yeah, to Rishikesh. Yeah.
Rishikesh, and that's lovely. Rishikesh is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this. And to all the listeners, please have a look at the show notes. Go support this very important organization and the important work that they're doing. And the drill: be good to yourself, be good to others, especially the animals. And thank you all so much.
Thank you all so very much for listening to Go For Your Life. I really appreciate it. And if you liked it, you know what to do. Please leave a review, leave a comment, share it amongst friends, do whatever you can do to support me and this podcast, because it is my life. Thank you very much, Miguel, for doing the editing. Thank you so much, Maria, for your beautiful designs. Thank you, Sparky, for being the best co-host ever. Thank you, Animals Worldwide, for your daily inspiration to keep me going, for always putting that fuel in me. Thank you so much, because we know the drill, right? Namaste, vegan. Go, 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 go.